Hey guys, I'm Diana and I'm a product manager in Silicon Valley. And I bring you the best tips and tricks, whether you're a current product manager or an inspiring one. Do you have an upcoming product manager interview? If so, you probably will get a product design, product sense question. So here are some examples of those. Now if we look at some questions from Google, design a fire alarm for the deaf. Design a great gas station. Design an alarm clock for blind people. Are you overwhelmed already? If so, stick around and I'm going to share some best practices to help you tackle these type of questions and make you stand out. Some context. You're probably asking and wondering why are these outlandish questions asked in the first place from these companies? The product design questions are intentionally ambiguous to see how you navigate towards a strategy and a product. Here are some of the goals of these type of questions. It's to understand how you think, what questions you ask, can you go between convergent and divergent thinking, and if you're able to convey a strong rationale behind your decisions. Okay, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. There are no right answers to these questions. Ultimately, us as interviewers are not looking for one answer we already have in mind, but there definitely are bad answers. So I'll be talking a little bit about that. Okay, enough talking. Let's show you. First, let's start with a simple structure. I have a 4-part structure here. The first being the mission and the market landscape. Basically, what's already going on in the space and how is it tied to the company's mission? The second is target users. Who should you be building for and prioritizing for? The third is mapping out user journeys and pain points. What are the existing things that suck for these type of users in this experience? And fourth, creative solutions. Let's brainstorm creative solutions on how we can solve these problems for these target users. A question I get all the time, but Diana, won't they know I'm using a framework that everyone else is using? Yes, and that's totally okay. We're not expecting you to come up with a novel framework. We're trying to understand how you use that framework to navigate ambiguity, to have structured thinking, and ultimately be able to back up your decisions with compelling, persuasive arguments. For those that are stressing out, wondering, well, I don't have enough years of product management experience to think like this. Well, I've seen folks from very senior levels even struggle with these type of questions, and I've seen people in college that were able to nail these questions. So don't worry, no matter what level you're at, with the right type of practice, you'll be able to get better. So let's go through the 5 key skills you want to master for product design, product sense questions. The first one is information gathering. You want to bring together the right type of data to help you make your decisions. The second one is structure. You want to organize your thoughts and convey them in a structured way and not a ramble. The third is prioritization. You want to show you're able to focus on the most impactful and key thing. Fourth is user empathy. You want to show that you can internalize your users' pains and frustrations. And the last, fifth, is brainstorming. Once you've identified some pain points, coming up with creative solutions on how to solve it that maybe does not exist in the market today. So let's go through these 5 in more detail, and I'm going to show you how I think through each of these. As we go through these 5 key skills, we're going to use one of the example questions I showed before. Let's say you're a product manager at a company like Facebook, and you're responsible for building a product in the travel category. What would you build? So the first one we mentioned is information gathering. Usually as a product manager, you're getting information from market trends, competitor analysis, user research, analytics. So that's the key skill that's being tested here and that you have to master. So the ones I like to talk about are opportunity, trends in the market, competitor products, and to address the strengths and the mission of the company. Let's see what that looks like in that example question. So let's go down that list. Opportunities in the travel space. High level, I'm thinking researching places you want to go to. Second, doing the actual booking of the place you want to go to. Third, the transportation to get there, flights, buses, cars. The fourth is booking the accommodation where you're going to stay. And then 5 is finding the local experiences that you're going to participate in once you're there. Some trends I'm seeing in the travel space that could serve as inspiration for me. Booking, transportation, getting accommodation, nowadays are a bit commoditized. For example, you have some competitors in that space already, such as bookings.com for transportation. All the airlines are established players, Airbnb for hotels. So all of that infrastructure exists and it is good enough. Another trend I'm seeing is people really like to participate in local experiences, ones that are unique and not just the traditional tourist experiences. And lastly, I'm thinking about the mission and the strengths of the company. So since this is a Facebook question, Facebook's mission is to 1, bring people together and build community. Some of the strengths of the company that could relate to travel are 1, there's a lot of social sharing going on the platform. Related to 2, there's a lot of user-generated content, such as photographs and reviews, especially when people are traveling. The 3rd, discovery on the platform. The takeaway here is to think about information you might already have and gather that to then inspire a point of view. So let's move on to the second key skill, which is conveying in a structured and organized approach. To convey structured thinking, you want to be able to think of the top categories and then further funnel down to think of subcategories under that. So in the example of travel I have here, a bad example would be saying things like budget travelers, then business travelers, and teens, because all of those can overlap. Instead, structured thinking is when you're able to come up with maybe mutually exclusive buckets. So an example here is we break down target users in leisure and business. Then I further break down leisure into explorers, tourists, and resortists. And those groups are different enough where there's not too much overlap. So something like this would be a good enough segmentation of target users to start off with. Let's move on to the third skill. The third skill is prioritization. So as a product manager, you're constantly overwhelmed by a ton of information. So your job is to help the team prioritize and focus. For prioritization, ideally you start with the criteria that you're optimizing for. I usually like to choose 2 to 3 criterias to evaluate my choices. So in the last case, we showed target users. I might use the criteria size of the population and which of these populations are underserved. And maybe a third one is the frequency of use, to then help me objectively figure out which of these user segments I might focus on. And this is key because we talked earlier that the product design, product sense question is meant to test and understand how you come to certain decisions to show that you're not biased. One of the common mistakes I see is people come in and they choose one without any rationale of why they made that choice. And use it against your options and measure low, medium, high. Explain a bit of your thinking, why you're saying low, medium, high to each of them. And that really helps the interviewer understand your thinking. The fourth skill you want to display in product sense, product design questions is user empathy. We're always trying to hire for product managers that can empathize with their users' pain points because those are the people that are best able to design solutions for them. So here, a key skill you want to nail down is to be able to map the user journey at every point of the experience and then identify in each of these themes what are the things that suck. You want to show you're able to really talk to the granular difficulties of the user's experience and feel the frustration or annoyance they feel when they're experiencing these pain points. Okay, let's go back to our travel example and create a user journey and identify some pain points. First part is getting inspiration on where to go for your next trip. Our sources of inspiration are seeing photos from friends, places I've always wanted to go, so I wouldn't say this pain point here is super high. Second is doing the research to figure out where I want to go when I'm at the place. And this can take hours. I'm asking my friends, checking on TripAdvisor, Googling, and it can be very tedious. So this could be a source of a huge pain point. A third part of their journey could be deciding between places. If I have 5 places in mind, how do I land on going to one? I only have a week. But this is also a source of frustration, the indecision or analysis paralysis, the more places I look. A fourth part of the journey could be aligning with your friends and family members who you're usually traveling with, which can be so tedious and painful because everyone has different preferences. So this could be a source of a huge pain point as well. The fifth part could be creating an itinerary, which is like fitting puzzle pieces together because you have so much information and coming from all the different people you're traveling with. So this itself could also be extremely frustrating. We just talked through some parts of the user journey, and you see how I showed emotion on which parts of the journey could be frustrating for users. That's what you want to do. Show that you can put yourself in their shoes and feel what sucks. The fifth and last key skill I would say you need to nail is being able to brainstorm creatively. And I've seen that the more granular you can come up with the pain points, the more unique your solutions naturally end up becoming. For example, if my pain point is too high level, an example being needing to do research before traveling is a pain point. Some solutions I came up with were kind of generic. The first one, search with filters. Second one, asking your friends on places to go. And third, trending places. But when I narrowed that solution to be more concrete, here, needing details on local places to visit, I was able to come up with a much more unique set of solutions. The first one I thought of was, well, why don't we create a board, kind of like a Pinterest, where I get all my friends who have gone to these other places that I'm interested in going into and contributing their photos, their suggestions, so that I'm not just asking one friend, but asking a bunch of friends. The second solution was to allow people to publish their existing their previous travel itineraries, and as like a crowdsourced way to share with other people, even if you don't know them, and allow the company to make that searchable. The last one, why don't we involve local guides who are doing this professionally and put their listings on a platform so that if I was going to a country, being able to reach out to them for advice. The takeaway is basically having more granular pain points can inspire more unique solutions. So those are the 5 key skills that you want to master for product design questions, and I've showed you some examples of how I think through it. You know how in sports you drill to get better? I also recommend here to drill each of these 5 skills to optimize how you perform in each skill, and then bring it together. Let me know what other questions you have as you're preparing for your interviews. Ask them in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe if you want to see other videos like this. Thanks, guys.